The lights dimmed inside the arena in Ufa, and a low hum began to ripple through the crowd, a tension that only boxing can summon. This wasn't just another fight night. This was a collision between proven pedigree and fearless ambition. In one corner stood Mahammad Abdullayev, a name that echoed through the amateur ranks like thunder. A two-time Olympian, a two-time world championship bronze medalist, a man forged in the crucible of elite competition. He had danced on the biggest stages, traded blows with giants, even shared the ring with Olympic gold medalist Bekkhan Israilov. Across from him stood Bekkhan Israilov, a man stepping into the unknown, making his professional debut under the bright lights of Liga Stavok. No Olympic banners followed him, no global medals decorated his name, but what he carried was something just as dangerous: hunger. The kind of hunger that turns underdogs into legends. As the fighters made their walks, the atmosphere thickened. The Azerbaijani technician, calm and composed, carried the weight of expectation. The Russian debutant, fueled by the roar of his home crowd, carried the fire of opportunity. 6 rounds stood between them and destiny. Experience versus ambition, precision versus pressure. And as the bell rang, the silence shattered into chaos. From the opening seconds, Israilov refused to play the role of the cautious newcomer. He surged forward with surprising speed, his punches snapping through the air with intent. There was no hesitation, no sign of nerves, only aggression. Abdullayev, however, remained the picture of composure. He leaned back, relaxed, almost indifferent, before suddenly striking like a coiled serpent. A sharp left hook, a sudden counter, each movement precise, calculated. The contrast was striking. Israilov brought volume and urgency, while Abdullayev brought timing and experience. The Azerbaijani began his reconnaissance, reading patterns, observing rhythm, letting the storm come to him. Then, as if flipping a switch, he began targeting the body. Left hands dug into the ribs, thudding with authority. Israilov answered with combinations of his own, mixing body and head shots, refusing to be outworked. The round became a chess match, disguised as a firefight. Abdullayev's ability to switch stances added another layer of complexity. Southpaw one moment, orthodox the next, constantly shifting angles and forcing Israilov to adjust. By the end of the round, both men had made their intentions clear. This would not be a quiet debut, nor an easy night for the seasoned veteran. As the second round unfolded, the tempo intensified. Israilov continued to press, his hands moving with impressive speed for a super heavyweight. He landed sharp combinations, occasionally catching Abdullayev clean, but the veteran's response was immediate and calculated. He began to dig deeper to the body, each left hook landing with surgical precision. It was a subtle but devastating strategy, breaking down the engine of the younger fighter. Abdullayev's defensive instincts were on full display. He slipped punches by inches, leaned away from danger, and countered in the same breath. Israilov, however, refused to be discouraged. He bit down and fired back, his determination evident in every exchange. The crowd roared with each flurry, feeding the Russians' momentum. But beneath the noise, Abdullayev's plan was unfolding quietly. Every body shot carried intent. Every counter was a message. This wasn't just about winning rounds, it was about control. By the end of the second, the fight had evolved into a brutal rhythm. Israilov pushing forward with relentless energy, Abdullayev absorbing, adapting, and responding with precision strikes that hinted at deeper damage. Round 3 became a battle of adjustments. Israilov, still energetic, relied heavily on his jab, using it to set up straight punches and maintain pressure. But Abdullayev's experience began to shine through more clearly. He moved with subtle efficiency, reducing his target, angling his body, and countering with remarkable reflexes. The left hook to the body remained his weapon of choice, landing again and again with punishing consistency. Israilov absorbed the shots, but their cumulative effect was impossible to ignore. Still, the debutant showed no signs of backing down. He fired back with crisp combinations, occasionally snapping Abdullayev's head back with clean shots. Yet the Azerbaijani's poker face never cracked. No reaction, no sign of weakness. It was psychological warfare as much as physical. Israilov sought validation through his offense, while Abdullayev denied him that satisfaction entirely. As the round wore on, the exchanges grew sharper, more intense. Both men landed meaningful punches, but the veterans' counters carried a quiet authority. The fight was no longer just about speed or volume, it was about who could impose their will. And at this stage, Abdullayev's experience was beginning to tip the balance. Entering the 4th round, Israilov stepped into uncharted territory. This was the deepest he had ever gone in a professional fight, and yet, he showed no fear. Instead, he increased his output, pushing the pace, forcing exchanges. The crowd sensed his determination and roared their approval. Abdullayev, however, remained dangerous. His bodywork continued relentlessly, each punch digging into Israilov's core like a hammer. But there was a shift, subtle, almost imperceptible. The veteran began to breathe heavier, his energy no longer as effortless as before. Israilov seized the moment, throwing combinations with renewed urgency, targeting both head and body. The exchanges became more frequent, more chaotic. Abdullayev still found success with his counters, including a beautiful uppercut on the inside, but Israilov's activity was impossible to ignore. He was no longer just surviving, he was competing, pushing, demanding respect. This round became a turning point, a test of endurance and will. Experience met resilience, and for the first time the outcome felt uncertain. The fifth round was a war of attrition. Both fighters showed signs of fatigue, but neither was willing to yield. Abdullayev continued to rely on his counterpunching, his left hook still a constant threat. Israilov meanwhile pressed forward with relentless determination, throwing punches in bursts, refusing to let the veteran dictate the pace. The Azerbaijani's breathing grew more labored, his movements slightly slower, but his precision remained intact. He produced flashes of brilliance, a perfectly timed counter, a sharp combination, but they came in moments rather than sustained sequences. Israilov capitalized on this, maintaining pressure, forcing exchanges, and keeping himself in the fight. The crowd's energy reached a fever pitch. Every punch met with a roar. It was no longer just a fight. It was a battle of wills. Abdullayev's experience against Israilov's heart, technique against tenacity. And as the round came to a close, it was clear that this fight would be decided not by dominance, but by determination. The final round arrived with a sense of urgency. Both men embraced briefly, a silent acknowledgement of the battle they had endured, before stepping back into the storm. Abdullayev increased his output, unleashing combinations with renewed intensity, his left hook once again finding its mark. Israilov responded in kind, pushing forward, landing jabs and right hands, refusing to let the veteran pull away. The exchanges were fierce, each man digging deep into his reserves. Abdullayev's experience shone in moments, his counters precise and effective, but Israilov's relentless pressure kept him in the fight. The final seconds ticked away, the crowd on its feet, the energy electric. Both fighters threw everything they had left, punches flying as the bell approached. And then, it ended. 6 rounds of high-level, high-intensity boxing, fought at a relentless pace. As the bell rang, the arena erupted in applause. Both fighters stood exhausted, their bodies battered, but their spirits unbroken. It was a contest defined by contrast, experience versus ambition, precision versus pressure. Abdullayev's body work had been exceptional, his counters sharp and effective. Israilov's output and determination had been relentless, his performance remarkable for a debutant. The judges' scorecards would now decide what the fighters could not. The tension was palpable as the announcement approached. For Abdullayev, it was a question of whether his experience and precision had done enough. For Israilov, it was a question of whether his heart and activity had stolen the night. And then the verdict was delivered. Against the odds, in a moment that sent shockwaves through the arena, it was Bekkhan Israilov who had his hand raised. The debutant had done the unthinkable, outpointing the seasoned veteran, in a performance that defied expectations. The crowd erupted, celebrating the emergence of a new contender. Abdullayev, gracious in defeat, had shown his class and skill. But on this night, it was Israilov's hunger that prevailed. It was a reminder of boxing's unforgiving truth. Experience can guide you, but it cannot guarantee victory. In Ufa, under the bright lights of Liga Stavak, a new chapter was written. A debut turned into a statement. A prospect turned into a name to remember. And as the echoes of the crowd faded into the night, one thing was certain. This was only the beginning of Bekkhan Israilov's story.